I never believed a simple dishwasher could turn the tables on millionaire chefs. The day everything came crashing down was the day I discovered the mysterious powers hidden beneath a pile of dirty dishes. I will never forget the clatter of glass hitting glass, the sinking feeling in my stomach as my world spun wildly. I could feel my dreams slipping through my fingers like grains of sand. Right then, standing in my tiny kitchen, I realized I was drowning in doubt, fear gripping my heart like a vice. My hands trembled as I reached out to open the dishwasher. It was like a portal to an unseen reality, a churning mass of secrets waiting to be unleashed. It had been a rough year, burdened with failures and constant rejections from restaurants that laughed at my ambition. I was desperate, hanging on to hope, but it felt as fragile as a bubble ready to burst. Behind me, my mother's disappointed gaze pierced through the silence. She never meant to, but her expectations always loomed large. I remembered the times she'd nudged me to pursue something stable, something safe. "Why can't you just be a nurse? They have real jobs," she'd told me. The weight of her words hung heavy in the air, a reminder of my struggle to break free from the path she had envisioned for me, but I had dreams too. I wanted to create. To cook. To be someone. I could smell the distant scent of spices, as if my aspirations floated just beyond reach. Friends had stood by me, cheering me on, but in shadows of success, they faded. Their doubts whispered betrayal, "You'll never make it." It was just me and the echo of my ambitions, dancing in the darkness. As I loaded the dishwasher, I noticed something strange. A vibrant glow flickered from the depths of the appliance. I blinked, my heart racing. Could it be? I leaned closer, peering in, a rush of adrenaline shooting through me. There, nestled among the grime, was a small, ancient-looking key. It shimmered with an energy that sent shivers down my spine. Unbelievable. Was it luck? Or something far more powerful? My heart thundered in my chest as I reached for it, fingers brushing the cold metal. The dishwasher hummed softly, and I could feel the anticipation sizzling in the air. What was happening? Was it whispering secrets to me? The energy buzzing around me felt electric, a promise of something bigger than I could comprehend. I held the key tightly, my heart racing, visions of million-dollar kitchens and Michelin stars swirling in my mind. What if this was my chance? What if the key unlocked a hidden door in the culinary world? Where would it lead me? Would I stand among the greats? Or would this key turn into another cruel disappointment? Suddenly, shouts erupted outside my window, breaking my reverie. My heart sank. Was it too late? Had my moment slipped through my fingers once more? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The shimmer of the key still danced in my grip, mingling with the racing thoughts that cascaded through my mind, yet the chaotic noises outside yanked me back into stark reality. Panic flared within me, weaving a tapestry of urgency and doubt. The shouting escalated, words slipped through the crack in the window, loud and volatile, cutting through any remaining veil of calm. "What the hell do you mean she's leaving?" A voice shouted, filled with raw emotion. I hesitated, my heart thudding in my chest. I recognized that voice. Mark, my best friend, and my greatest supporter. I could picture his wild gestures, frustration burning as bright as the sun outside. My instincts kicked in, almost instinctively. I stumbled from the kitchen, the key still clutched tightly in my palm, and approached the door, half listening yet unable to grasp what was happening. "Look, you don't know everything about her. You think pushing her to stay here is what she wants?" Mark exclaimed, the conviction in his voice palpable. That made me stop, rooted at the door. Pushing me to stay here? What did he mean? For the briefest moment, the only sound that filled my mind was the hum of the dishwasher behind me, the key nestled in my pocket growing warmer with every heartbeat. Maybe she needs to be away from this dead-end town to find herself. This is her chance. My heart soared at his words. He was still fighting for my hopes. But the tension crackling in response felt heavy in the air. The abrupt silence that followed was like a thick fog, settling over everything. I leaned closer, nearly straining to hear the next words hanging in the air, a dormant storm poised to break. What if she fails? What if this whole idea of hers is just a pipe dream? It was my mother's voice, dripping with the worry I had always tried to shake off, a voice that echoed through my childhood. The words hit me like arrows piercing my resolve, twisting into my thoughts like weeds. But then I felt it, a flicker of anger ignited within me, urging me to push through the framework of expectations. You can't keep me in a box. I wanted to shout, but fear shrouded my voice in silence. Just then, I heard the distinct sound of a door slamming. I flinched, dread pooling in my stomach that I rushed out to find Mark standing by the threshold, his expression a mix of frustration and concern. His eyes, usually bright with encouragement, looked dimmer today. I tried to talk to her, but his voice trailed off, and there it was, the unspoken fear clawing at both of us. What's going on with you? Is the dream worth pursuing? I can't watch you be trapped here, torn between her vision and yours. My heart pounded with conflict. I wanted to tell him about the key, the whispering dishwasher, and my flickering hopes. But that overwhelming yearning to stay true to myself but also alleviate my mother's fears tangled me further. I started, but words failed me as my throat tightened. Mark stepped closer, the warmth of camaraderie breaking the chill in the air. Maybe it's time to take a leap. You can't let her doubts define your path. I swallowed hard, envisioning the luxurious kitchens and vibrant markets I dreamed of, but the thought of leaving my family behind suffocated me. What if I fail? I finally managed to say, the words trembling on my lips. Then you try again, he replied, warmth radiating from him. But what if you soar? You have to at least see what lies beyond this moment. I believe in you. Just then, I felt Ida's sense of possibility, half woven with fear yet brightened by Mark's faith in me. Each second felt like a morsel of time slowing to a crawl. Maybe the key was a symbol of the threshold I stood before, a choice to embrace the unknown with all its risks. Suddenly, the air shifted. I witnessed a figure lingering at the entrance of our street. My heart sank further. It was my mother, and she was walking away, towards her car, suitcase in hand. The realization hit me like ice water. She truly believed I was ready to abandon everything. Just as I opened my mouth to call her back, to plead for understanding, the key shot from my pocket and clattered against the ground. Time froze. Our eyes darted to the shiny metal that now glittered on the pavement. There was something almost mythical about it, like a beacon beckoning me to choose a direction. I stumbled forward instinctively, caught between tethering myself to my past and afraid of what lay ahead. Wait! I shouted, my voice cracking in desperation. My mother paused, looking back with wide eyes, her expression a blend of shock and disappointment. Please! I yelled, just let me explain. The dishwater rushed through my mind again, reminders of my hidden dreams swirling. I'm ready to try, ready to believe in my own dreams. Let me find out if it works. The weight hung heavily in the air, as if the universe was waiting on her response. I could feel a fracture forming between us, yet standing on the precipice of a new chapter, I could sense that this was merely the beginning of a much larger journey, one filled with hope, heartache, and everything in between. And then, just as I prepared for her answer, a car drove by, and I glimpsed a familiar face, the head chef from the most renowned restaurant in town, the one who had rejected me before. But this time, he wasn't alone. He turned and locked eyes with me, a singular, bewildering understanding passing between us. I didn't know what it meant yet, but I was certain of one thing: the door was ajar, and life was about to whirl into unpredictable chaos. What if this was the moment the tides turned? The weight of my mother's silence hung between us, a chasm filled with unvoiced fears and expectations that threatened to close in. Her eyes, wide and searching, seemed to seek a solid ground beneath the chaos. I felt the urge to reach out, to cross that chasm, but instead, I stood there, frozen, engulfed in a storm of anxiety. Are you really going to leave, then? She finally asked, her voice barely a whisper, the fragility of the moment making it feel as if the very air shivered. Mom, it's not like that. I stumbled over the words, precariously searching for the right path through this jagged terrain. This isn't about leaving you. It's about finding myself. The tremor in my voice betrayed me, but I pressed on. You raised me to follow my dreams. She scoffed, shaking her head sadly. You can't live on dreams. Not in this world. Look where they've gotten you. Her words sliced deep, laying bare my fears, rippling in waves across the surface of unwavering determination. It could be different, Mom, I said, finding strength in conviction. Mark believes in me. I believe in me. From behind me, I heard Mark shift, quietly encouraging me to continue, but my voice faltered. I felt like an unsteady tightrope walker, fear of falling gnawing at my mind. Just then, the unmistakable boom of my mother's car door echoed as she closed the distance to her vehicle, dragging the suitcase behind her. The dragging noise seemed to mirror my impending sense of loss. I caught sight of Mark's pained expression, his unwavering support now tinted with doubt, and the weight of my choices became almost unbearable. Mom, please, I called after her, desperation embedding itself into each word. Have faith in me. Faith doesn't pay the rent, she shouted back, her back hunched with resignation. A sob threatened to escape. I could feel the pale light of hope dimming. But just as despair knocked insistently at my door, a sound pulled my attention, the fading engine of a car revving, but then it sputtered to a halt. I turned my head, and my breath hitched as the familiar car belonging to the head chef coasted to a stop. For a fleeting moment, the air sparkled with possibility. The chef emerged, his presence larger than life, exuding an air of indifference tinged with curiosity. What's happening here? He asked, glancing between us. I could practically sense my mother's form stiffen, her posture defensive and poised like a shield. Nothing you need to worry about, Mr. Lawrence, she stated flatly, though a quiver in her voice revealed her uncertainty, but instead of retreating, he stepped forward, intrigued. Actually, it seems like something worth hearing. I've heard about your dreams. Don't you think it's time to put them to the test? His gaze landed on me, relentlessly probing that I hesitated, caught up in the vibration of the moment, every layer of emotion coming undone around us. You know about my desire to cook? I managed, still surprised by the serendipitous intersection of our worlds. Each word felt monumental, as if they could topple an entire landscape. His lips curled into a knowing smirk. I might. I believe genius can't remain hidden forever. So what are you waiting for? Suddenly, I felt all eyes locked on me, rooting for an answer. What if I stepped forward into the unknown? I recalled the key in the palm of my hand. Its allure now felt like a strange resonance to my hopes. I haven't been given the chance. Then claim it, he interrupted softly, eyes shimmering with encouragement. Believe in your dreams. But remember, to make the leap, you have to face your fears first. Then my mother looked stricken, as if the fullness of what was happening was dawning on her. I watched emotions flit across her face: disbelief, worry, regret, and behind her facade, perhaps a flicker of hope. Mark moved beside me, anchoring the moment with his supportive presence. We can't keep living in other people's expectations, right? He whispered, and I could tell how strongly he believed those words. Before I could respond, the chef stepped closer, his steady gaze never wavering. You're at a crossroads. Use that key. Let it guide you. He pointed to the metal that lay glinting on the pavement, a reminder of the weight of potential, but with each passing second, I felt a sense of urgency swell in my chest, a deep terrified pulse vibrating through me. What if I fail? The question flitted from my lips before I could stop it. Then you learn, he replied, voice calm like the surface of a lake after a storm. But you can't achieve flight if you never dare to leave the ground. That it was a tempest of emotion swirling, wrapping around my heart this fiery urge to break free from the shackles of doubt combined with the paralyzing fear of failure. I gazed toward my mother, whose eyes sparkled with unshed tears, echoing my unfulfilled aspirations and unspoken dreams, and just when I thought I was on the verge of decision, Mark's phone chimed, slicing through the tension. He glanced down. "It's Claire," he muttered, a new name that sparked a scent of familiarity. "She's been trying to reach you." I blinked, caught off guard. At that moment, Claire was a ghost from the past, someone who had left our town with promises and unfulfilled dreams of her own. The twisting memory rushed in like a tide, pulling at strands of emotion I thought I had locked away. Why would she be contacting me? A sudden wave of unease crashed over me as my gut twisted. It felt like a thread had snapped, unraveling everything in an abrupt rush. Before I had even registered the question, I blurted, "What does she want?" Steeling myself, I felt the flutter of uncertainty. Was I ready for whatever her message could entail? What if it posed yet another challenge to my pursuit, another reminder of misplaced dreams? The air crackled with tension as Mark considered my question, the chef's unreadable gaze fixated on me, each moment stretching into an aching eternity. I could feel that impending storm building again, realization dawning as I prepared to step into uncertainty, not with that glittering key in hand, but perhaps with a heart brimming with untold promises. Unbeknownst to me, the truth that awaited in Claire's message could unravel everything: my dreams, my hopes, and the very fabric of who I thought I was on the brink of becoming. And as the key waited resolutely by my feet, I understood this was not just a simple crossroads, it was a pivotal moment in a narrative still longing to unfold. I took a deep breath, feeling that strange blend of hope and dread poised on my lips, ready to speak my truth, before any resolution could come crashing down. The tension in the air was palpable, and I felt like I was standing on the edge of a precipice, teetering on the brink of uncertainty. Claire's name lingered like a spectral whisper of a past that could consume me with what-ifs and regrets. Everyone was looking at me, anticipation thickening the atmosphere between us. My heart raced as my mind flickered through memories of her, our dreams woven together, full of laughter and laughter-filled kitchens. Mark's phone chimed again, pulling me from my thoughts. "You should really take this," he urged, his voice steady as he gestured toward the screen illuminating his face. The way he said her name made me feel small, fragile, as if it were made of glass. What had Claire meant to me, and what might she want now? I hesitated, glancing towards my mother, who stood still as stone, her expression unreadable. The chef, a quiet strength casting a long shadow over our interaction, simply watched, waiting for me to gather my resolve. With a flicker of determination, I reached for Mark's phone and took a deep breath, exhaling slowly as though to steady the tempest within. The moment I swiped to answer, Claire's voice streamed through, ringing with the familiarity that made my heart echo a melody of bittersweet nostalgia. "Hey, it's me," she began, her tone laced with urgency. "I know it's been a while, but I really need to talk. It's important." I got twisted tighter, and I couldn't tell where unease ended and hope began. "What's going on?" I asked, trying to match her intensity. "I've got something crucial to share about your father," she said, pausing as if weighing her next words, and my world trembled at the mention of him. I had pushed my father to the back of my mind, buried alongside dreams of family dinners and the echoes of laughter that once filled our home. "It's affecting all of us, trust me. Can you meet me, just for a few minutes?" For a moment, I was lost within the labyrinth of memories that threatened to ensnare me. Mom's laugh breaking into the silent tension and my father's absence woven through the fabric of our lives. "Why now?" I managed, my voice trembling. "That I can't explain everything over the phone. Just please," she implored, the urgency in her voice gripping me through the line. "You need to know the truth." The chef's eyes were locked on my Phaeacian anchor in a growing storm. Would I dare confront the truth of my past at such a pivotal moment? I glanced back at my mother, whose eyes spoke of untold histories, each tear a story suspended in the air, unresolved. Would my choice today mean confronting not just Claire but all the ghosts that lingered between us? I hesitated, caught in a swirling sea of emotions. "Okay, where?" "Meet me at our old spot. The cafe by the lake." Claire's voice softened, and I could almost feel the warmth of that place rising within me. It had been our haven, where dreams felt vivid and limitless, like we could carve out a future just for ourselves amidst the chaos of life. That sanctuary now held promise and tension, almost like entering a time machine. Fine, you'll be there. My voice was steadier than I felt, but the reality that awaited sent cold ripples across my skin. Would my past collide with everything I was trying to build? As I hung up, Mark searched my face, his concern palpable. "Are you okay? Do you want me to come with you?" he asked gently, with a tightness in my throat. I shook my head. "No, it's something I have to face alone." Turning to my mother, who seemed to have lost some color at the mention of my father, I wondered how much of our shared silence was wrapped in him. "Mom, do you want to talk?" The moment stretched, but the silence only served to deepen the rift between us. She shook her head slowly, tears glistening in her eyes. "You can't hold on to every ghost, darling," she whispered finally, as if the weight of her words pressed down on both of us. "But you should seek the truth. Find your path." That I nodded, feeling the flicker of hope re-emerging like a candle in the dark, but fear still gripped my heart like a vice. The chef watched, brows furrowed, as I turned to leave. Each step felt heavy with the burden of my choices, what needed to be unburied and what longings remained muted under the gloss of propriety. As I walked towards the cafe, the cool air prickled at my skin and the distant sound of water lapping against the shore pulled me deeper into introspection. I remembered the dreams Claire and I had shared, plans filled with culinary aspirations and laughter echoing in the air. Yet now, dread and possibility danced together. What if the truth about my father unraveled everything? The cafe came into view, the familiar silhouette beckoning me like a lighthouse in a storm. I hesitated right before the door, a hand on the handle, when I caught sight of the message notification on Mark's phone lying abandoned on the ground. The screen lit up again, vivid and intrusive, causing my heartbeat to quicken. Another message flashed, Claire's name prominently displayed, but not from her previous call. The words rapidly typed out felt ominous. "You need to know the truth before it's too late." The realization hit me like a wave crashing against a rocky shore. The stakes were higher than I ever imagined. I had stepped into a web of emotions and truths reaching far beyond my control. My heart raced as I pushed open the door to the cafe, the aroma of brewed coffee swirling around me while the ghosts of yesteryear and the promise of today collided in a sweet but treacherous embrace. I was no longer just at a crossroads, I was standing at the heart of an emotional maelstrom, and I prayed I wouldn't drown in it. The bell over the cafe door chimed, pulling me straight into a whirlwind of memories. I spotted Claire sitting at our usual table, her fingers nervously tracing the rim of her coffee cup. The sunlight poured in through the window, illuminating her face in a soft halo that made my heart ache. She looked almost ethereal, yet the tension radiating from her was palpable, dampening the warmth of the moment. I wasn't prepared for the way our past rushed in, embracing me with both comfort and dread. Time had stretched impossibly in my absence, and now, bound by her request, I felt the weight of years pressed down upon me. As I approached, Claire looked up, her expression a mixture of relief and anxiety. "Thanks for coming," she said, her voice barely a whisper. That I didn't really have a choice, did I? The sharpness in my tone surprised even me. I took a seat, the familiar wooden chair creaking slightly beneath my weight, as if recognizing the gravity of the moment. "That I know it's a lot to ask," she began, her eyes searching mine as if trying to find the boy I once was, the carefree dreamer who shared all those afternoons with her, where laughter was the ever-present backdrop. "But I can't keep this to myself anymore. It's about your father." That I swallowed hard, feeling the walls close in as her words wrapped around me like a vice grip. "What is it? How can it possibly be important now?" Claire sighed, the fight draining from her as if a storm had swept through her resolve. "Your dad, he was involved in things that you don't know about. Dangerous things. And there are consequences. I wish I could tell you it's just history, but some things refuse to stay buried." My heart raced, torn between disbelief and the scalding truth of her revelations. "What do you mean? You can't just drop that on me without context." "That I found something," she confessed, glancing around as if the walls had ears. "Documents, things he left behind that show a side of him you never knew. I was going to go to your mother, but I couldn't. I didn't want to add to her pain. And then I thought of you. As her voice trembled, I felt anger bloom within me. So you thought it would be better to come to me like this? What do you expect me to do with this kind of information? Understand, she pleaded, her sincerity evident. I need you to help me figure this out, Ethan. You're stronger than you think. Stubborn pride wrestled with an undercurrent of sadness. I was just trying to forget everything to build something new, something real, I said, a whisper of desperation creeping in. Now you want to drag me back. Tell me this doesn't change everything. Claire reached across the table, her fingers trembling just above mine, but I recoiled as though stung. I didn't come here to hurt you, she said softly. Please, there are people who are looking for this information, people who won't stop until they find him, and that could involve you, or your mom. The weight of her words settled like a stone in my stomach. The very thought of my mother's anguish resurfaced as I pictured her hollow stare. I felt I was being pulled into a deep hole, a place of darkness I thought I had escaped. And what if this all comes crashing down on us? My voice faltered, choked with the reality of our choices. Just then, a flash of motion caught my eye as Mark entered the cafe, his presence like a grounding force amid the storm. He spotted me immediately, his brows knitting together in concern. I signaled him to wait, one hand raised to insist I wasn't ready yet. I didn't know if I wanted him to witness this unfolding unraveling or if I needed his comfort. Ethan, Claire continued, her eyes welling with unshed tears, I know you're scared. But I truly believe there's still time to confront this. If we don't, we risk letting it destroy what could be. You can't run from your past forever. Every instinct wanted to shut this door, to drown out the flood of possibilities crashing against the fragile walls of my new life. But behind her pleading gaze lay the unsettling notion that there was a chance, perhaps against all odds, to unearth not just the truth but the chance for closure. Mark leaned against the wall, arms crossed, watching me with an intensity that ignited a flicker of hope. Maybe he had sensed my turmoil, my confusion, and while he understood I had to walk this road to find my truth, here he was offering his silent encouragement. A waitress approached, serving Claire a fresh cup of coffee and asking if I wanted anything. I shook my head, words failing me. The world around me swirled with sound, yet within, silence reigned. I couldn't help but glimpse at Mark before returning my gaze to Claire. I need time to think. This isn't just about me. I finally managed to say, the weight of my decision pushing on my chest. Take your time, she urged, swallowing hard. But promise me you'll at least consider it. Whatever happens, we need to be ready. As I rose, I felt the chasm of uncertainty widening between us, a rift I didn't know how to cross. I stepped back from the table, crisis heavy on my shoulders, when suddenly, Mark's phone buzzed again, crackling with energy. I had left it behind in the heat of the moment, but as it vibrated on the table, I turned just in time to catch Claire's shocked expression as she read over Mark's shoulder. No, she gasped, her voice dropping to a whisper. Ethan, it's from someone in your father's past. We have to be careful. They have eyes everywhere. The tension wrapped around us like an electric current, sparking panic in my veins. I could feel the walls closing in again, shadows creeping closer as the stakes escalated. The weight of my past was no longer a mere whisper, it had come crashing back, demanding to be faced, and just like that, my future teetered on the edge of profound uncertainty, caught in the eye of an emotional storm where ghosts danced like Flamisa storm that threatened to consume us all. The cafe door swung open with a force that seemed to echo my internal struggle, thrusting me back into the present. I could feel the warmth of Claire's gaze on me even as the panic of that message seeped into my consciousness. As I caught sight of Mark's face, worry molded into determination, a reflection of what I hoped for myself. Ethan, he said softly, breaking the thick silence, let's get out of here. We can talk. There was an urgency in his tone, an understanding that bolstered my fraying resolve. I hesitated, glancing back at Claire, whose eyes mirrored my conflicted feelings. I can't just leave, not with the implications of her words hung heavily in the air, the knowledge of my father's past circling like vultures waiting to swoop down. Please, Claire said, her voice trembling yet insistent. Just promise you won't let fear drive your decisions. We're on the cusp of something that could either build or break us. That I need answers first, I replied, pushing back my emotions like a dam threatened by a rising tide. Then let's grab those answers, Mark interjected. Together. He placed a reassuring hand on my shoulder, grounding me with a touch that bridged the chaos swirling inside. As we left the cafe, the sun felt almost too bright, illuminating the hidden paths that ran parallel to my life. I spotted a bench nearby, its wood splintered but sturdy, beckoning us to sit. Mark guided me toward it, and we fell into conversation that felt both distant and necessary. He spoke of his own family issues, the secrets that had lingered in the dark corners of his home, and how he had learned to confront them rather than hide. His words wrapped around me, fragile yet sturdy. That I can't keep this hanging over me, I confessed, closing my eyes briefly as the weight of the impending revelations loomed over me like dark clouds. How do I stop them from consuming me? By acknowledging them, accepting them, Mark replied, his voice firm yet gentle. You can't determine your future while you're still shackled to the past. It may hurt, but it'll set you free. His words ignited a spark of courage igniting deep within me, but doubt painted images of worst-case scenarios, lingering like a shadow. You don't understand, this is different. What if exploring this leads to danger? What if it harms my mom? Or, God forbid, you? A hint of disappointment shadowed Mark's face. Ethan, I'm not afraid. And you shouldn't be either. We've faced challenges together before. This is just another one, only this time, you don't have to carry it all alone. Taking a deep breath, I finally submerged myself in the truth of his presence. There was an undeniable warmth in his unwavering support, lending me strength I hadn't realized I needed. In the distance, a woman on a bicycle swerved past us, her laughter light and buoyant, slicing through the tension with an ease I couldn't grasp. I yearned for such lightness, the carefree notion of being able to simply laugh at the mundanity of life while my own emotions raged like a tempest. Let's talk to Claire again, I suggested, surprising myself. Something isn't right. I need to piece this together, follow the scent of the truth before it vanishes. Mark nodded, but moments later, his phone buzzed, and his face drained of color as he read the message. It's that number from before, he muttered, his voice low. Who is it? I asked, my heart racing again. Before he could respond, the low rumble of a motorcycle broke into our thoughts. A man dismounted, helmet tucked under his arm, and approached us with an intensity behind his eyes that made my skin crawl. Ethan Sullivan? He asked, his voice gravelly and commanding. The world dulled around me. I need to talk to you. That I felt cold tendrils of fear grip my stomach, but I stood my ground, determined not to let the nameless dread freeze me in place. About what? His gaze didn't waver. About your father. We need to come to an understanding before things escalate beyond repair. That I exchanged a bewildered glance with Mark, a silent question dancing between us. We don't want any trouble, Mark said carefully, stepping slightly in front of me. Too late for that, the man replied, dark humor lacing his words. You're already involved. And whether you're ready or not, the truth is beckoning. With every heartbeat, reality spiraled out from beneath me, revealing depths I hadn't known existed. The man's presence burned like a brand, igniting every unsettling notion I thought I could ignore. I felt Mark's hand clasp my shoulder, grounding me once more. Forcing myself to calm my racing thoughts, I knew this encounter could either propel me towards the unsettling truth or plunge me back into the cycle of fear I had fought so hard to escape. Either way, I was being dragged into the center of a storm, and with a crushing realization, I understood I was running out of time. The man's presence felt like a dark cloud enveloping me, heavy and suffocating. I could sense the tension spilling into the air around us, thickening with every second that ticked away. There was a challenge in his eyes, one that compelled me to confront the fears I had tried so desperately to bury. Your father is a complicated man, Ethan, he continued, his voice low and steady. But he's in danger, and that danger comes from the very shadows he's been trying to escape. You need to know there's a storm brewing, and it won't spare anyone. Why should I trust you? I shot back, a mix of defiance and fear washing over me. But deep down, my instincts were screaming at me to listen. I glanced back at Mark, searching for a sign, a word of reassurance, but he stood expressionless, locked in the moment, his breathing steady despite the tension that I don't expect you to trust me. But the longer you stay in the dark, the closer you come to being swept away. Your father can't be the only one with secrets anymore, Ethan. The man's gaze pierced into my soul, unveiling the turmoil roiling within. Who are you? I demanded, trying to mask the quiver in my voice. And what do you want from me? My name is Cole. And I want to help you, he declared, his tone unforgiving yet vulnerable enough to allow a thread of hope to weave through my fear. But you have to be willing to embrace the truth, no matter how ugly it may be. Help me? I echoed, incredulity creeping into my voice. Help me how? By spilling more secrets. I've had enough of secrets. Frustration bubbled within me. My father's ghost had loomed over my life for too long. By showing you what you're really dealing with, Cole replied, his expression hardening. If you wish to protect your mother and the people you care about, you need to step into the light and face the reality of your father's choices. Enough. I nearly shouted, the situation overwhelming my senses. I'm not ready for any more of this. I just want things to go back to the way they were. Things will never go back, he countered bitterly. This isn't a fairy tale. You're standing at a precipice. It's your choice. Either you want to see the truth, or do you want to be buried in the lies? The challenge of his words anchored me to my place in the chaos, and for the first time, I felt the raw emotion lurking beneath layers of denial. The weight of responsibility pressed against my chest, squeezing tighter with every word spoken, as if my heart itself were being constricted. Mark stepped forward, breaking the silence. What do we need to do? His voice was a lifeline, unwavering and steady, but I felt a swell of uncertainty. Cole's eyes flickered with something that resembled approval. Meet me later tonight, at the old pier. The answers you seek are intertwined with the darkness surrounding your father, but be warned, once you step into that world, there's no turning back. That I felt my throat dry as I searched Cole's face for sincerity, but all I found was an unyielding stare that seemed to harbor an impending storm. It'll come, I replied, though doubt slinked around the edges of my resolve. Cole nodded, the corners of his mouth twitching just slightly, whether in satisfaction or disdain, I couldn't tell. Then he'll see you tonight. Before I could gather my thoughts, he turned and strode away, the thunder of his motorcycle breaking through the silence as he revved it to life. The weight of his words sank deeper within me, pooling in a place I had long tried to ignore. Ethan. Mark's voice pulled me back from the edge of my spiraling thoughts. Are you okay? No, I'm not, I confessed, my voice trembling. This is all too much. What if you don't confront this, things will only get worse, Mark interjected gently. I'll be there with you tonight. Well, face it together. As the sun dipped lower in the sky, painting it an array of unsettling colors, I felt a hint of gratitude stem from the fear that gripped me. In the midst of chaos, Mark was my anchor, his presence reminding me that I wasn't alone in this fight. But moments later, just as I started to breathe again, my phone buzzed in my pocket. I pulled it out, my heart racing when I saw Claire's name flashing across the screen. I answered immediately, fear and hope colliding. Ethan, she said, her voice frantic. You need to get to my house. I think someone's been watching me. A chill gripped my spine. I glanced at Mark, whose eyes widened with realization. Claire, are you? I'll explain everything when you get here. Please, hurry, she urged, cutting the call before I could speak. Panic clawed its way into my chest, the storm I had tried to step into now swirling anew. The threat to Claire's safety was an open wound, a connection to my father's past that I hadn't anticipated. I dared not think of the implications, but I knew one thing, I was racing against time, and this unexpected revelation could tumble my world into chaos with a single breath. Ethan. Mark's voice brought me back, resolve renewing my senses. We have to go now. With every stride that carried us closer to Claire, the taste of uncertainty lingered, bittersweet and foreboding, whispering promises of revelations yet to come, and the realization that every choice outweighed the simplistic notion of peace. I was, indeed, running out of time, but now I had to confront the ultimate truth, whatever it may be. The rain had begun to fall heavily by the time we reached Claire's house, each drop hammering against the pavement like the urgent beats of my heart. I dashed up the porch steps, my breath coming in quick bursts, and pounded on the door, praying she was okay. Mark stood just behind me, his face tense with concern, watching every shadow as if it might spring to life. "Claire. It's me," I called, my voice almost lost in the roar of the storm. "Open up." The door creaked open, revealing Claire, her face pale and her eyes dark with fright. I barely took a moment to scan the hallway behind her, but it was enough to know something felt wrong. The usual warmth of her home was overshadowed by a cold, eerie atmosphere. "Ethan, thank God you came." Her voice trembled as she pulled me inside, locking the door behind us with a quickness that sent a shiver down my spine. "Are you all right?" I found my voice, though it felt foreign in my throat. "What happened?" "I was in the kitchen," she began, her breath coming in sharp gasps, "and I noticed a figure outside, just standing there. Watching me. I tried to call you, but—" Her voice broke, and I stepped closer to focus on her words. "Did you see who it was?" Mark interjected, his expression hardening. Claire shook her head, pressing her palms to her cheeks as if trying to warm the chill of her fear. "No, but it felt wrong. I could sense it. I think it's someone who knows about the things, the secrets." Every word she spoke spun a tighter web around my chest, and as she plucked the veneer off the surfaces we'd tried to keep sacred, the darkness of our shared past crept closer. "You're safe here," I reassured her. "We're both here now. Just tell us everything." "That I found something," she said, slowly leading us into the living room, where a scattering of papers and photos lay across the coffee table. "I didn't know what to do with it, but now I think it's connected to your father." My heart plummeted as I approached, absorbing the images that swirled with echoes of a history I had no desire to revisit. There were pictures of my father, younger, wearing a smile that had become a distant memory, standing alongside people I didn't recognize. Others depicted angry faces and shadows wrapped in smoke. The words across the papers were blurred, each one threatening to unlock a door I wasn't sure was meant to be opened. "What is this?" I demanded, my voice more forceful than I intended, fingers trembling as I grabbed one of the photographs. "What do you mean connected?" Claire's brow knitted together, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. "I didn't know how to interpret it until I saw that man earlier today. He had the same face as the one in this photograph, the one I found last week stuck behind the dishwasher." The world tilted on its axis and I stepped back, dizzy from the implications. "Behind the dishwasher?" I echoed, unable to process how a simple household object was transforming into a harbinger of chaos. A million possibilities crashed in simultaneous. My father's reality interwoven with our own, hidden truths untangling at the worst possible moment. "I thought it was just an old picture you wouldn't care about," Claire said, her voice shaking. "But when I saw him watching me, I thought it meant something." Mark interrupted our spiraling thoughts with an urgent tone. "We have to act fast. If he's watching, he could come back. We can't afford to sit still or be caught off guard." "Yes, but what do we do?" I replied, shock mixing with a reluctant readiness within me. "We can't just confront him." Claire closed her eyes tight, summoning courage from deep within. "We have to find out what he wants. Why he's interested in your father's past and now, in you." Desperation blurred the edges of reason. The pull to unravel the web of truths threatened to drag me into the fissures of my family's dark past, but there was also the fierce desire to protect Claire and Mark from whatever fallout might ensue. Just as I opened my mouth to argue against the recklessness of it all, the oppressive silence of the house shattered. A heavy knock echoed through the hallway. Bold and demanding. Our hearts stuttered in unison as I willed myself to move. "Ethan," Claire whispered, panic flaring in her eyes. "What do we do?" I felt the world slow around me, time stretching out like an unending moment of dread. I had come here as a refuge for Claire, but now, as the door trembled under another heavy hit, I realized my journey was far from over. Cole's words rang clear in my mind: "Once you step into that world, there's no turning back." With every ounce of courage, I made a decision that would undoubtedly shift our paths forever. "We need to face this together." As I moved closer to the door, determination coursing through my veins, another knock resounded with an urgency that promised change. Perhaps the storm could cleanse the past and herald a new beginning, or perhaps it would rend us apart at the seams. I took a deep breath and reached for the doorknob, ready to confront the shadows that awaited us on the other side. But what awaited was still cloaked in the very dark that was threatening to consume us all. The door rattled again with a fervor that sent shivers down my spine. I hesitated, heart pounding so loudly it seemed to echo through the stillness of the room. Behind me, Claire's grip on my arm was tight, a silent plea for reassurance blended with fear. Mark had moved closer, his eyes scanning the corners as if the shadows themselves might hold the answers, or worse, the threat. Ethan. Claire's voice was little more than a whisper, trembling like the flickering candle nearby. What if it's him? What if it's the man? Stop. I turned back to face her, forcing a calmness that I didn't feel into my tone. We won't let him take control. Not again. Whatever's going to happen, we face it together, Mark echoed softly, taking a deep breath and positioning himself by my side, determination glinting in his eyes. I grasped the doorknob, feeling the metallic chill seep into my skin, and with one last glance at Claire, her apprehension palpable, yet desperately hopeful, I twisted it open. The hinges creaked and moaned like the echoes of our unresolved past, the hallway flooding with the sound of rain and uncertainty. Outside stood a figure, cloaked in darkness, the rain cascading off his shoulders like a shroud. I squinted, fighting against the storm and my own rising panic. His face was partially obscured, but even from this distance, I sensed the familiarity that struck an ominous chord within me. Who are you? I called out, the words carrying a weight that stretched thin under the intensity of the moment. The man stepped forward, his expression unreadable, voice steady despite the tempest around us. Ethan Kane. He pronounced my name with a slow deliberation. You don't know me, but I know you. I have something for you. What do you want? Mark challenged, stepping slightly in front of Claire, his protective instincts igniting the air thick with tension. The man raised his hands, palms outward, disarming in a way that only heightened my sense of danger. I'm not here to hurt you. I'm here to help. Claire's breath caught, and I could feel her tension through the shifting silence. Help how? I bit back, my defenses still raised, but a flicker of curiosity danced at the edges of my resolve. Your father wasn't who you think he was. I have information, the truth that's been hidden from you and many others. He took a step closer, rain soaking through the fabric of his clothing, forming a stark contrast against the oppressive weight of his words. Enough games. Mark snapped, the tension between us threatening to snap like a taut wire. What do you mean, hidden? What do you know about my family? In due time, the man insisted, his voice rising over the sounds of the storm. But first, I need to show you something. His gaze flickered to Claire, then back to me, an intensity brimming behind his stormy eyes. You're in danger, Ethan. The figure you were told to fear is only the beginning of something much larger. If you want to get to the bottom of this, you'll need the truth, and that truth is something you might not be prepared for. I took a step back, the implications of his words swirling like thick fog around my heart. What do you mean? I whispered, the doubt in my voice palpable. What truth? A cruel storm raged within me as echoes of my father's absence merged with the dread of what this man could unleash. For years, I had buried my past beneath layers of denial, and now, it threatened to resurface with a vengeance that I can't tell you all at once. You must come with me, he pressed, his voice low and compelling, sparking something deep within me. There's a connection, Ethan, one you were unaware you had until now. Before I could gather my thoughts or formulate a response, Claire stepped forward, determination igniting her features. No. We won't go anywhere with you until you tell us everything. We deserve the truth. The man paused, seemingly surprised by her outburst, and his gaze softened momentarily. You're right. You deserve answers. But I can only give so much without exposing you to the danger that looms closer every second. Silence draped over us like the storm outside, heavy with unspoken fears and unresolved conflict. I could almost hear my heartbeat matching the rhythm of rain on the roof, every drop a reminder that time was running out. please." Claire's voice broke through the stillness, wavering with both courage and vulnerability. "If you know something about Ethan's father, you have to tell us. We can't just stand here in the dark." In that moment, the man's demeanor shifted, his expression mingling between guarded and sincere. "The man you saw today is linked to your father's secrets. He is not just any stranger, he is someone who has been searching for you, Ethan. He doesn't want you to find out the truth." My breath stilled, a knot tightening in my chest. "What do you mean? Why would anyone want to keep me from knowing the truth?" "Your father's past might not only reach out to you, Ethan, it might place a target on your back. Some truths are too dangerous to be uncovered. And I fear you may have awakened those that should remain buried," he said, looking over his shoulder as if he expected shadows to leap from the darkness. A moment of heavy realization settled upon us, a weight so profound that it felt like the walls around us were constricting. The storm melded into an eerie silence, filling the air with a sense of foreboding and precarious choices. Just as I opened my mouth to speak again, a loud crash of thunder erupted overhead, drowning my thoughts. The electricity flickered wildly inside the house, and the lights flickered out before being enveloped in darkness, plunging us all into an abyss of uncertainty, an ominous backdrop to the rising tide of my choices. "Claire!" I called out, my voice strained against the shadows. "Mark, here!" Mark's voice cut through the ominous quiet, but it trembled, edged with uncertainty. But before I could search for Claire's comforting presence or Mark's steadfast resolve, an echoing crack split through the silence like the pinned tension of a string about to snap, and then, an icy finger slid down my spine as I felt the unmistakable sensation of someone or something watching us from the dark beyond the open door. The air felt charged, electric, with a tension that sent shivers racing across my skin. As I stood there, frozen by the weight of uncertainty and fear, the flicker of the storm outside illuminated the man's silhouette just enough to reveal the deep lines etched into his express-ion, a map of harrowing experiences I could only imagine. My heart thudded loudly in my ears, drowning out all other sound as I fought against the gripping panic clawing at my throat, the realization of intertwining destinies weighing heavily in the air. "Ethan," the man said again, his voice low yet firm, cutting through the chaos. "There's so much you don't understand. But you must trust me if you want to navigate this. They're coming for you, and you'll need to know how to fight back." Trust, that single word felt impossible to grasp as doubt loomed larger than ever. I could feel the shadows of my childhood creeping closer, the family secrets I'd tried so hard to bury clawing their way back to the surface, while the unfamiliar presence of my father's legacy loomed like a ghost over us, ready to entangle us all in its web of darkness. "Who are you?" I managed to ask, my voice barely a whisper, shaking under the weight of the moment. "And why should I believe you? Why should we trust you?" "I worked with your father," he replied simply, each word wrapping around my heart like a vice. "And I've spent years trying to untangle the mess he left behind. This isn't just about you. It stretches beyond family. There are lives lost and lives threatening to fall into the void because of choices he made." The rain roared outside as if echoing the tempest of emotions swirling within me. "You need to come with me. I have something that was meant for you, a chance to confront him and understand these tangled threads of your past." The pulse of uncertainty stretched like an unsteady rope bridge across a chasm filled with dark unknowns. I felt the weight of Claire beside me, her presence palpable as she edged closer into the uncertainty. The proximity of Mark calmed me in a strange way, a tether, a reminder that some bonds remain solid even when the ground seemed ready to give way beneath us. "Let's step inside," Mark said firmly. "We can talk about this further away from the rain and the chaos." The man hesitated, but I could see the flicker of something in his eyes, a worry. He might follow. There are things in motion that could prove dangerous. "Let him come," I snapped, surprising myself as the words flew from my lips. "I'm not going to let fear dictate every decision in my life anymore." I took a step forward, a foreign resolve coursing through me, mixing fear with ironclad determination to confront the ghosts of my past. "Ethan, please," Claire whispered, a hint of concern woven through her voice, but I shook my head lightly, anchoring myself in the moment. Somewhere beneath the chaos, I felt that flicker of hope igniting the darkness. As we stepped back into the house, the shadows appeared to elongate in the flickering light, a twisted reflection of the truth that had haunted my family. The door clicked shut against the thunder, it sealed the outside world away, if only momentarily. The man, still dripping from the rain, settled into an uneasy silence as we huddled together in that room, the weight of unspoken truths looming ever larger among us. "This is not just about your father. It's about you, Ethan," he began again, fixing his gaze fiercely on me. "By stepping into this world, you're not just unearthing his past, but also rediscovering who you truly are. And in that there is power. But it's a risk. What kind of power?" Mark asked, disbelief coloring his voice. "What kind of risk? A risk that could shatter everything you thought was true," the man replied, his voice dipped in urgency. "The people watching you must come to understand why they want to keep you from the truth, and what lengths they'll go to." I turned to Claire, who remained tense by my side, and then to Mark. They both stood silent, the electricity of my previous choices crackling around us. If I was going to face this haunting truth, we needed to confront the shadows together. "I'm ready," I breathed, my voice steady as I focused on the man before me. In that moment, the events of our lives solidified into a singular point. "Very well," he nodded, almost solemnly. "But be prepared. Truth isn't gentle. It's merciless, and it doesn't care how it lands." Just then, a deafening crash of thunder echoed through the air, and as if on cue, the lights flickered violently before plunging us into darkness. Claire's grip on my arm tightened, a gasp escaping her lips as the shadows seemed to close in tightly, wrapping us up in their cold embrace. But in that darkness, a fierce glimmer of warmth surged within me, a feeling of grounded defiance against those shadows stretching towards an uncertain future. And just when despair threatened to break through, as existence hung delicately between past and future, a figure emerged from the darkness beyond the door. "Ethan," a familiar, breathless voice called, instantly saturating my heart with a wild mix of fear and recognition. Just as I thought I had lost grip on reality, there stood Mark's sister, Claire, rushed and ragged, urgency etched across her face. "We have to go now." The weight of her words snapped into focus, illustrating a vivid urgency where past and present collided into chaos, a storm beckoning for resolution. "What's happening?" I demanded as she ran toward us, glancing hurriedly over her shoulder as if the shadows behind might grasp at her. "You can't just barge in like this. I saw him," she exclaimed, breath catching. "The man. He's here and he's been watching, and he knows you're here, Ethan. We don't have time." Fear blasted through my veins, spiraling wildly and threatening to extinguish the remaining flickers of courage. "What do you mean he's been watching? What do you know?" Suddenly, the sound of gravel shifting outside caught everyone's attention, the subtle noise morphing into the unmistakable rumble of an approaching vehicle. "You need to hide. Now." Instinctively, we all scoured the room for options to shield us from the looming threat, the weight of our shared fears melding into one clenching lucid truth: we could no longer pretend the darkness wouldn't come for us. Without another second to lose, I turned and shoved the door to the back room open, beckoning everyone to follow as panic enveloped us like the tempest outside. "Move," I urged, knowing that the time for decisions had run its course and we all braced against the tide of uncertainty rising around us. Fractions of time felt stretched beyond reason as we stumbled through the shadows, my heart racing with every hurried step. Yet, as moments collided into one sprawling scene of chaos, I discovered a strange, glimmering resolve born from the uncertainty, a desire to confront the truth that loomed over my life and the ramifications that trailed into the darkness. And just as we thought we had outrun peril, the door quaked under an ominous knock, validating the fear we had fought to quell. It was time. The storm awaited, and we were wholly unprepared for the journey that lay ahead. "I'll be ready," I whispered as our eyes locked in the suffocating silence, a promise forged in the crucible of uncertainty where fear and hope met. I would discover the truth, I would break the silence, and perhaps, just perhaps, I could begin to reclaim my rightful place beneath the storm that had unfurled over my past. The darkness outside echoed faintly as our fears hung ripe in the air, waiting for the moment to burst. But within that momentary silence, I saw my path unfold, a clash of storms, secrets, and, inexplicably, the flicker of a future beckoning to be unwrapped in the aftermath of uncertainty, waiting for the brave to dare until sunlight broke through. Together, I breathed, clutching their hands, ready to embrace what waited beyond the veil of fear and light. Together, we would face the storm. And whatever the cost, I knew we would rise through it.